What is up, everybody? This is Adam. Welcome back to Fouled Out. Today, we are doing our mock draft for the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft, and we have a special guest, Brandon and Jack from the Certified Beef podcast here to help Matt and I out. We like to have other voices come and help us on these mock drafts because we get a lot of groupthink between me and Matt. So it's nice to have someone different come on, kind of give a different opinion, different view. And they're big Vikings fans. The Vikings are going to have a big draft either with their 2 first-round picks or trying to trade up to get a quarterback. So be interesting to talk to them about that. They also got the Wolves in the first round of the NBA playoffs and some other fun stuff going on in Minnesota. They're big Midwest sports fans. As for me, fair warning before we start this podcast, the Bruins are playing in the second playoff game of the first round. They're currently up 1-0 on the Maple Leafs. So if you hear some random cheering or maybe some swearing during this podcast and don't know where it's coming from, I have the game on up here in my office where we're recording. I also have my Boston Strong Style shirt, my Bruins 100-year centennial jacket, awesome cardigan that one of my friends bought me for Secret Santa. So, if you couldn't tell that there's a Boston playoff game on right now, just look at how I'm dressed on the video. You might be able to tell. So, one more reminder before we start the podcast, you can reach out to us, fouledOutsports@gmail.com, to talk to us about the podcast. We really appreciate you guys listening. We would love to hear from you. Been having some fun draft conversations with listeners who have emailed in. So if you want to talk sports with me and Matt, or you just want to tell us our mock draft was awesome or that it sucked, hit us up. Again, fouledOutsports@gmail.com. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Let's go get Brandon and Jack. Let's go get Matt. And let's do a first round mock. This is one of the most fun parts of the year. We're looking forward to the draft on Thursday. So let's go. All right, we are back. Matt is here, but more importantly, joining us from the Certified Beef podcast, we have our friends Jack and Brandon here to help with the 2024 mock draft. How are you guys doing?
Oh, fantastic.
I always am so excited for mock drafts because I'm so bad at it, but it's also just like your wildest dreams, just like filling out, like it's like filling out a bracket in NCAA tournament. It's just the same excitement, just the exact same. I always get hyped for it.
The mock drafts are amazing because you have so much fun doing them and you think of all the possibilities. And then literally as soon as the NFL draft starts, your mock is completely out the window.
Yep. Yeah.
Anything beyond the top 5 is a total crapshoot.
Yeah, because like for example, like the Vikings, it's a crazy year for us. So like you're having fun doing a mock draft, like, oh, my team's going to do this, do that. And then you're sitting on the couch and you're stressing for your life because the next 5 years are on the line and so that like mock drafts is where the fun happens, but then draft night is where reality hits.
Like if your team is drafting later in the first 2, it's like,
oh, that must be nice.
There's way too many variables to even imagine like who could possibly be the pick.
Yeah, Crimea River.
Matt and I are having the weirdest year ever because the Patriots have the 3rd pick in the draft, which is not normal for me. And the Lions have 29?
The turns have tabled.
Yeah. It's a very different year on this podcast when we're talking about the mock. So I do want to jump into the draft because we have 32 picks to make. And we're going to discuss each one of them a little bit after we make them. But before we start with the picks, tell us a little bit about the Certified Beef podcast and what you guys got going on over there.
So I guess the way I would describe it is it's national sports news with a Midwestern viewpoint. Me and Jack are both from Minnesota, so we're both huge, diehard Minnesota sports fans. So we kind of funnel everything that's going in around the world of sports through our viewpoint of how that affects the Vikings, the Twins, the Wild, and the Timberwolves mostly. And we just try to have a lot of fun over there. Like, yeah, I don't know how much more to describe it than that.
It's kind of similar to what we're doing, where you guys are talking about kind of whatever's in the zeitgeist of sports. It's not like
I would say we're a lot more emotionally driven than you guys because you guys hammer down the stats. Me and Jack just say whatever comes to our mind. So
It depends how Matt's feeling on a given recording.
Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
About how emotional it
absolutely.
gets. We after the Lions lost to the 49ers, all Matt would say on the podcast is "fuck Kyle Shanahan," and that was as
Yeah,
far
And I
as we
still
got breaking it
stand
down.
by it.
I was upset too. I was like, I really don't want the Lions to win the Super Bowl because they would be better than the Vikings all time. Then I'm like, can't have that happen. But I just didn't want the 49ers because that's not fun. So I was like, NFC North. I'm gonna go with the NFC North, and besides the Packers, obviously. And I also was obviously against the Chiefs, and that day was just horrible.
So I think you guys were here 2 years ago. We did the big mega mock with like 6 or 8 people.
yep.
Yeah.
I think you guys are ideal guests to have on for this year because the Vikings do have 2 first-round picks. They are one of the teams in the hot seat after Kirk Cousins left for Atlanta this offseason. But I want to ask you guys something that's completely not football related before we jump in because you were here 2 years ago. You're back now. And then this question is going to be the litmus test for if I ever invite you back on this podcast again. Because this is a stance I've seen from Wolves fans that's been driving me insane lately. And I want to know if it's legit or if I'm just seeing stuff on the internet. Say you guys, the Wolves lose in the second round or something, and you go home. The Spurs call you this offseason, and they say, we will trade you Victor Wembanyama straight up for Anthony Edwards right now. What do you say?
Hell no.
No.
It's like the biggest, like, I'm declining. I'm not even going to answer. I'm just hanging up. There's no way.
Only problem
I'm
is
not,
I can
I'm
see
not
you're
accepting.
not happy with that answer, but the only problem is we already got we run a 2-center system right now. We don't need a third as the small forward.
So
Yeah.
this started
No.
because of a post on Reddit that had, these are the superstars you would trade for Victor Wembanyama right now. These are the guys you wouldn't. And the only guys in the wouldn't space were Jokic, Giannis, and Luka, I think. And it was like Jason Tatum, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or maybes. And Wolves fans got super defensive, and they're like, no, absolutely not. We're not trading Anthony Edwards. And I understand where there's the 2 centers involved and stuff, but I was just like, this dude's a fucking generational player and going to be the best player in the league, if not next year, the year after.
No, that's because Anthony Edwards is going to be, so you can't.
I was like,
yeah.
you 100% pull the trigger on that. So I just wanted to know if it was legit or not.
If you were going to package Towns and Gobert together for that, I would say yes.
Yeah.
But
I've
not Anthony Edwards.
I've been a big I'm a big Karl Anthony Towns hater, so yeah, I would send him out of the
I'm a Towns fan, and I would still send him out for that.
My take is that I would trade any single player in the NBA for Victor Wembanyama right now. I honestly don't. I'm not buying into. He's going to be good, but I'm not buying into the hype as much as people are. I just don't I don't see how he fits in the NBA. Like, eventually he's going to break down. Like, it's inevitable. He's going to break down. I mean, he already was on minutes restriction as a rookie, and that would be scary to me. I have all the stock. I have all the hype. And if anybody is selling their Victor Wembanyama stock, I am buying right now. But let's jump. We'll save that for another day. We'll have you guys back on to talk NBA. Let's jump into the picks here. And we're going to kind of bounce back and forth between the 4 of us of who's making the pick. We have an order that we're going in, but also I'm going to quote Brandon here and say that we have celebrity shots for us to pick guys for our favorite teams, because I didn't want you guys to pick a punter for New England at 3.
Oh, you don't want Torrey Taylor?
It's
so good.
Hey, not at 3. I do want Torrey Taylor. I'm more afraid that someone's going to pick JJ McCarthy at 3, and I'm going to have to end the podcast early because that is my living nightmare, is that Matt and I are hanging out on Thursday, either downtown at the draft or at a local bar, and they pick JJ McCarthy, and all the Michigan fans around here go crazy, and I start crying into my beer. So without further ado,
I mean, sometimes it's nice to add a little bit of salt to your beer.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to carry me home, and it's not gonna be like a fun carry me home. It's gonna be like a sad carry me home.
I'll have lots of pictures.
Yeah. So with the first pick in the draft, Matt, you are up with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, so I mean, I appreciate getting the easiest pick in the draft. I'm clearly going with quarterback Spencer Rattler here. No, clearly, Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC. I will say he is the best product coming out since Joe Burrow and the best prospect probably since Andrew Luck. We talked about it not that long ago. Really, my only real gotta fix it thing with him right now is stop waving the ball around when you run. Like he is just a slam dunk pick. You take him if he's there, unless you have one of 4 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, he's obviously a my guy for me. He's been my guy for 2.5 years now, ever since his first start at Oklahoma. So I love him. My only fear with Caleb Williams, and the only reason I think he might not be successful in the NFL, is because he's going to get drafted by the Chicago Bears.
That's what I'm banking on.
So it might be a mess. But all right, let's go to the second pick, the Washington Fighting Georges, patent pending. If the front office of the Georges wants to pay me for the logo and the name, I'm here. $5 million. Brandon is making the Fighting Georges pick.
Yes, I am. So I know the odds on all these quarterbacks have shifted recently. I saw today that JJ McCarthy's odds went up for some reason, but we're not going that direction. I know there's been some murmurs that he does not want to go there, but I'm going with Jane Daniels, quarterback out LSU. It makes sense. You're going into basically the same system that he had at LSU, now with Cliff Kingsbury as the OC at Washington. You got 2 good receivers in McLaurin and Dotson they can just throw up contested balls to. And Jaden Daniels, deep ball stats are just crazy. But also, he can avoid pressure. The Commanders gave up 65 sacks last year. Who's the best running quarterback in this draft? It's Jaden Daniels. He may take some very scary hits, but the plays he's going to make are going to be out of this world. So I think it just makes the most sense. The most a plug and play type of guy right now.
The thing about Daniels being mad with Washington right now is it's hard to tell because it's smokescreen season, how much of that is real and how much of it is just a smokescreen. But if you're Washington, it's why do you need a smokescreen with Jaden Daniels? You know Caleb Williams is going first. You get to pick whoever you want. You don't need to try to fake us out.
Yeah.
Just tell us who the pick is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the Patriots pick at 3 before Jack and I flip-flop back. And I'm sprinting to the podium here to take Torian Taylor, the punter out of Iowa, just for our friends here. No, I'm sprinting to the podium. I'm taking Drake May. I think Drake May is a better quarterback prospect than Jaden Daniels. I think he has the unteachable things, the giant arm, some of the playmaking stuff. I also like that he plays with his back to the defense in college. So I think we've talked about this on the podcast a couple of times now, but with the Patriots at 3, I'm either taking Drake May or I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. if Drake May's not there. Drake May's my guy, but if I can't get my guy, then I'm taking the guy I think is the biggest sure thing in this draft in Marvin Harrison Jr. Who might
you also need to be carried out of wherever you guys are going on Thursday if the Vikings trade up for that pick and you didn't get to pick until 11 or whatever.
Yeah, so this is
and then we took Drake May too.
This has been the thing that's been bothering me coming up on the draft is there's this rumored offer out there of the Vikings giving up number 11, number 23, and next year's first. And for me as a Patriots fan, a team that desperately needs a quarterback, that's nowhere close to enough for me. And you guys are going to hate this. You're going to want to throw this away right away. But if we're even going to talk, I need all 3 of those first and then Jordan Addison to start the conversation. Crazy. Yep. But I'm not giving up my franchise quarterback for less than that, especially not to give another team that desperately needs a quarterback their shot.
In a year where the following year, we know the quarterbacks are just not good.
Yep. Yeah. And every Vikings fan I've talked to is that's absolutely not happening. I'm like, okay, then you guys can trade up to 4. I'm perfectly fine. I don't want to trade this pick away. That's my point. Is I'm not doing it unless it's a Godfather offer from somebody.
Well, I mean, you could trade back with the Giants, who are also rumored. Then you could take JJ McCarthy at 6.
If we take JJ McCarthy or trade the pick or some combination of the two, Matt will be carrying me home in a bad way. Also, JJ McCarthy, if he does go in the top 3 or the top 4, owes me $1 million. So the very first thing I will do is cry. The second thing I will do is send JJ McCarthy a Venmo request for $1 million. Pay what you owe, JJ. But no trades here. And then we got the Cardinals on the clock at 4. Jack, where are we going?
I mean, it's pretty simple. You take the second best player in the draft. You take Marvin Harrison Jr. You got rid of, you let Marquise Brown go. You traded Rondale Moore to the Falcons. You need a wide receiver for Kyler Murray. He hasn't had a very dominant receiver, I guess I'd say, since D-Hop. I mean, Marquise Brown kind of filled the role, but I think it's fair to say that you sprint to the podium as well, and you take Marvin Harrison Jr. It's a slam dunk pick.
Yeah, big agree for me. So I think these first 4 picks, Caleb, Jaden, Drake, and Marvin Harrison, this is pretty straightforward so far.
Be shocked if it wasn't like that on Thursday.
Yeah, that's how I think it should go and how I think it will go. But now we get to pick 5, and I think that this is where this draft really starts for me because I have no idea what the Chargers are going to do. Matt has an idea. So, Matt, why don't you tell us what the pick is?
I have a pretty strong suspicion. The Chargers' new head coach is Jim Harbaugh. And Jim Harbaugh famously does not like to throw the ball. And I mean, I think in addition, what did we kind of learn last year from the last couple of years from watching the Chiefs, get it done and like seeing the revitalization of the Lions? If you give your quarterback a running game and you really, really protect them, and they're one of like those really high-end guys, you can get a lot out of that. So I think here what's going to happen, and probably what I would do, given that the depth at wide receiver in this class is just so expansive, I'm going with Joe Alt. I don't think that you're getting another, premier tackle later in this draft. They need every bit of protection they can get. Rule number 1, make sure that your high-end quarterback stays on his feet.
I know we're talking about running up to the podium to draft super talented guys like Drake May and Marvin Harrison Jr. That Jim Harbaugh is sprinting faster than you've ever seen a head coach sprint to that podium to take the best offensive lineman in the draft, and he's excited to do it.
Yeah, I think they trade out. I just think that there's a lot more talent at tackle. It's a very rich tackle, wide receiver. Plus, like, you got the Vikings who have 2 first-round picks. You trade back to 11, 23. You get your wide receiver at 23. You get another tackle at 11. I just think Joe Alt, he's a left tackle. He's a consensus number 1. You already had your left tackle in Rashawn Slater. I mean, not that it doesn't make sense to take a tackle, which I have a feeling that's what the Chargers are going to do no matter what their first pick is going to be a tackle. I just don't know if with the amount of help that they need, I think it makes more sense to trade back and get more capital, especially maybe a first-round pick next year as well, which is probably what the package would have to be if the Vikings were to trade up.
Yeah, I mean, if we were doing trades, like, that is what I would seek for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, like, regardless of tackle, wide receiver, there's holes all over this roster. Like, it's not a good roster. There's a reason they're drafting 5th overall, and it's not 2 positions. So, in an ideal world, get more picks, but, like, when we're staying put, like, I've got no issue taking a left tackle and saying, hey, you might move over to right.
Yeah.
And, like, they told us everything they needed to know when they hired their offensive coordinator. They're not passing the ball.
Yeah.
Zero intention to do so. So real quick, you guys are Vikings fans. You've watched Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May go off the board in the first 3 picks. Are you looking at like this 4 through 6 area and thinking that you want to trade up for JJ McCarthy?
So realistically, I think that they have to, but in retrospect, you look at the teams ahead of them, they're not taking quarterback. The only issue is you're worried about teams behind you that might want to take quarterback is the real issue. Because, like, there's all this talk about the Giants Giants, they still have Daniel Jones on the contract. I know that there's like kind of a somewhat of an out next year where they take like a $22 million cap or dead cap hit, whatever. But realistically, there's no team here that's going to take a quarterback. But I think the earliest I'd want them to do is 5, because the Cardinals, yeah, they have a really bad roster. They have holes to fill, but they have 2 first-round picks. So they don't necessarily need to acquire capital. So they have the home run. I just think that the Chargers probably makes the most sense. I don't think the Giants are going to want to trade back in a draft where they need a wide receiver here or something like that. But they also are rumored to take maybe a quarterback. So why would they trade with the team that is going to probably take a quarterback? But realistically, like in this mock, very well could see JJ McCarthy fall to 11. Is that going to happen Thursday? No. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like I've said this before, I would rather the Vikings swing and miss on a quarterback and then instead of sit back with 2 first-round picks that you got when the Texans called you asking for a second-round pick for a first-round pick, basically, and not try to go all in on a quarterback of your future. Like, I feel like I'd rather JJ McCarthy be like one of the worst quarterbacks of all time than just sit back and have someone else take him.
Yeah, I'm not a big JJ McCarthy guy. I actually have a lot of money on JJ McCarthy going over pick 4.5 in this draft, because I think that this is the Will Levis smokescreen where all these teams are like, oh, JJ McCarthy, watch out. He could be picked second. And he doesn't go until a bit later. I mean, maybe not second round like Levis, but I think that's a lot of smoke screens right now with the film.
I think it's unrealistic for him to be picked in the top 4, just like looking at it. But I mean, I guess I'm a lot higher on him just because what we have around him. If we do take JJ McCarthy, we have a lot more around him than compared to other teams like the Patriots or the Commanders. Like, idealistically, the Vikings have a very good roster around a quarterback that maybe needs a little bit of time, but also like things that he does well is he's good over the middle. He doesn't make bad decisions. Like, that's all you need out of a quarterback, and you can teach that guy. And you like, realistically, if you look at what they did with hiring Josh McCown and stuff, like Drake May is probably the quarterback that we want, but it's probably just not attainable.
Yeah, I think that the Vikings are going to be the best landing spot for one of these young quarterbacks if they do get one of them, as opposed to the Patriots, which is probably the worst landing spot for a young quarterback with no left tackle and no receivers. So,
well, yeah, I mean, KJ Osborne.
True.
Oh, sorry. No tackles and 1 wide receiver. So
yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about another shitty landing spot. And Brandon's going to be on the clock here with the Giants.
So, yeah, like Jack said, I could see the Giants taking McCarthy, but I don't think it makes sense with Daniel Jones on the contract he still has. So I think I'm going to side with all the professional mock draft people. Say that they're going to go with Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington.
Ooh.
That is definitely just not what people are saying.
That's what CBS is saying sometimes.
No, we like Odunze more on this podcast than Malik Neighbors, but I think that's the fight.
That's maybe the influence that I'm under right now is listening to too much Fouled Out.
But Brandon was doing his homework and he's like, Rome Odunze, that guy's really good.
Yeah, exactly. They got to snag him before these guys get him.
All the experts are saying that now.
But like, I don't know, you could move Wan'Dale inside and have Rome be like the true outside threat, and then kind of take a little bit of pressure off of Darren Waller a bit. Like, I was gonna say they also could possibly go with a tackle here, since they got sacked the most in the league with 85, which was 20 more than anyone else, 20 more allowed. But in the end, we're going with Rome.
Nice.
It's really incredible that they ended up passing Washington with the pace that Sam started on.
That is actually nuts. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wait, 20 more. I was like, what happened to Washington? They were so far ahead of everyone.
Sam Howell got better.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Washington actively tried to murder Sam Howell last season and then traded him away. So
yeah, like with that Sam Howell thing, do you think that was like a nail in the coffin that they weren't taking Drake May? Like, that's his best friend. Why would you trade away his best friend and bring in a guy? Like, I feel like that was as soon as they did that, I was like, they're not taking Drake May.
I mean, I think it's weird to draft a quarterback super high and then have the backup be another young guy that's developing.
For sure.
It's a really weird dynamic. It's not something that you really want.
I think it's a
Yeah.
tough situation to have a guy who's homegrown. Like whenever you draft a quarterback, there's going to be fans that are just a fan of that quarterback. Like there are Patriot fans who are like, dude, Mac Jones would have been so good if we didn't mess it up for him. So you're just always going to have people like that. Uh, and I think that even if you draft like Drake May second and you had Sam Howell on the roster still, there would be fans calling for Sam Howell to start no matter
Yeah.
what, basically. And you
Yeah.
got to nip that in the bud. But speaking of young quarterbacks, we have the Titans on the board here at pick 7. And Jack's going to be picking someone to play with Will Levis next season.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I see Malik Neighbors, who I think is outstanding, I would love to have a guy like Malik Neighbors on my team. Not that we need him, but the Titans really need offensive line help. As much as I think that like Joe Alt might be here, and like that would be like a dream scenario. I mean, there's another good tackle, but I think Olufashanu is the best tackle left after that, and I think that's where he would go here in this case. Um, yeah, they just need offensive line. I mean, you've made it clear that Will Levis is going to be your quarterback. You brought in a offensive minded head coach, and you need to protect him. And you might as well get a guy that you could plug and play. I know that they probably have a lot of holes on the defense, which they do, and they don't have Mike Vrabel anymore, who gets the best out of very little talent. But you need to have confidence in your quarterback, and your quarterback is only going to be confident when he's standing on 2 feet. So Olufashano is a great pick here.
Yeah, so I'm up with the Falcons at 8, and I'm super tempted to pick Malik Neighbors here and just say, you know what, we got Kirk Cousins, we're gonna have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, like another top 8 pick on an offensive skill position player for this team. But I'm gonna give Falcons fans a break because I'm on the bandwagon. We're cool now. We had 28-3, and they all hated me, and then they fucked me last year on all my picks, so I hated them. Now we're even. We're back in it, and we're going to go with Quinyon Mitchell, the corner out of Toledo, to go on defense. It's tough. I know you guys are big Cooper DeJean fans, who's also sitting on the board as a corner, but Matt and I talked about Quinyon last week and how he's a bully, and he's going to bring an attitude to this defense that it desperately needs. So as much as I am like, man, I want to do Neighbors and just have like the best offense in the NFL, we're going to go for a little bit more balance, but
yeah, no, I'm a big Quinyon Mitchell guy. I think he's the best in the class. He kind of reminds me of Sauce, non-power 5 guy, very physical, fast, just like he under the radar. Also, like he's like not like the as tall, but he kind of like reminds me of Tariq Woolen too, like very fast, aggressive. So like I mean, that's just what he reminds me of. And if he plays like those guys, he's going to be a fantastic piece.
Yeah. So the way this draft fell, Matt has to pick for the Bears again, a team that he despises. Carlos is out there listening to this somewhere like, oh, come on. Why is Matt?
Matt,
you think Carlos would take Neighbors here? Is that his dream?
I think that's probably where he would go. That is not where I'm going. The reality is that whenever you have the chance to take a prospect that is historically unique and it's like, the kind of like unicorn talents and has the production and not a whole lot of injury history, you just fucking take them. So I'm going to take Brock Bowers.
No.
Yeah. I think that was going to be Brandon's next pick.
Yeah. If I'm drafting Caleb Williams, I either need to get him a tackle or I need to get him someone to catch passes. And Brock Bowers can block and he can catch passes.
Yeah, that offense is getting pretty nasty pretty quickly with more Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, who I like as a tight end. And then you put like Brock Bowers, who's a flexible tight end in there. That's a lot of targets for Caleb Williams in year 1. But that looked like it was going to be Brandon's pick. The reaction that I saw on the camera. So now you're up with the Jets at 10 with no Brock Bowers on the board.
Yeah, see, like that was the guy I was waiting for because the two that I had both got taken. So now kind of scrambling here. But we are going to help shore up the Jets offensive line. I am definitely going to butcher this name. It's the guy out of Oregon State. So if you guys want to help me,
Tylis Fawaga.
Tylis Fuaga, yeah, offensive tackle out of Oregon State. Yeah, I just kind of had to pick him there, and that's what the mock drafts are saying. So sorry, I don't got more analysis on this, but that's my
No,
guy.
I hate this because I like it for the Jets and I hate the Jets
Yeah.
because I feel like a super Jets thing to do here would be like, oh, we got Aaron Rodgers coming back. We're going to give him a fast target and Malik Neighbors and completely ignore the offensive line and then get Rodgers killed next season again.
Yeah.
And like this is actually a smart thing to do is to protect your investment at quarterback. So that's I like it because I hate it so much as a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I think Brandon was on the right track. I think it's more realistic that they go for because apparently they're going all in this year because they obviously Rodgers is like basically going to be done after this year. Their jobs are on the line, like the coach and the GM, they are going all in. So they're just going to probably take someone like Brock Bowers and try to score 40 points a game.
I mean, that'd be such a nasty combo with him, Mike Williams, and Garrett Wilson. But
It would be pretty wild for them to score 40 points per game with a washed quarterback.
Oh my, yeah.
My favorite take. But all right, so now time for the other home team, the second home team of the podcast. Jack is on the board at 11 with the Minnesota Vikings. JJ McCarthy still around. Homeboy Cooper DeJean. I guess he's not really
Spencer
a home guy,
Rattler.
You're a fan.
he's my home.
No, I mean, in this case, like I've talked about, I think they trade up here, but like obviously, like I said, the teams in front of them don't need a quarterback. So, like, I mean, the big thing with Minnesota sports fans right now is we have the capital to trade up, but now everyone's freaking out that we have to give up all this capital to trade up, and it's like you just lost your quarterback. You really want to see Sam Darnold starting all 16 or 17 games next year? I sure as hell don't. It's pretty simple here. It's JJ McCarthy. I've said I don't hate him. I don't think that he needs to start right away. I think he needs to be taught under a guy like KOC. You got bringing in Josh McCown to be your quarterback's coach. And then you just learn a little bit. Maybe Sam Darnold can give him some of his good attributes to him, not his bad attributes that he's shown. But
and those are
everything. So maybe he has good, or everything's bad. Maybe he's. Hey, everyone says he's still untapped. We don't know what we have with Sam Darnold.
Maybe he can teach him what not to do.
That's maybe all he needs, because I think that this is probably who the Vikings end up with, and I wouldn't be mad. Like I said, like if this were to happen somehow where we just sit there and we take them, that'd be great. But it's obviously not. But like I said before, we need to do something. Our franchise quarterback left, which was fine because we didn't need to pay him that money. And obviously we don't tamper with players, so like we don't need to do that. But yeah, no, JJ McCarthy is the easy pick here.
I thought Kirk Cousins' agent, I just thought it was amazing how quickly they got that massive contract done.
Yeah.
Because they obviously didn't tamper, because that would be against the rules. Matt, speaking of massive amounts of money, what's the verdict here? If JJ McCarthy gets drafted 11, how much money does he owe me still?
I mean, I think that's still $1 million. He's still making pretty good money overall.
It's a lot better than where he was before I started memeing him into the top 3. So that's some kind of Venmo request is coming from my phone to JJ McCarthy's. I don't want any of you to worry about how I got JJ McCarthy's number, but he's getting a fucking Venmo request on Thursday. Brandon, we haven't heard you talk about JJ McCarthy to the Vikings yet. Is that what you want?
Not really. If we traded into like the top 3 and picked him, I'd be pretty disappointed.
Well, that's not gonna. We're not gonna do that because we take Drake May. Brandon is definitely not as high on Drake May or JJ McCarthy as I am, because I think that obviously Drake May has the talent, but he also has played as much games as basically JJ McCarthy has, and that's not talked about enough. And people are like, "Oh, look at the stats! Like JJ McCarthy was efficient. He didn't turn the ball over. Like you were going to punish him because he played at Michigan. They like to run the ball. I don't know. And then like the one thing is he's good at throwing over the middle, and that's something you can't teach. like a guy like Russell Wilson never learned how to throw the ball over the middle. Like, yeah, he was a great quarterback, but he threw a great deep ball, but he never learned how to throw over the middle.
Like
And that was a big thing with him.
5'9".
Well, yeah, but I get that, but I'm saying Drew Brees threw over the middle all day long. Like
Yeah.
Drew Brees he didn't let that get to him, and
Oh,
Russell Wilson never learned how to throw over the middle. And I know that because my roommate tells me about it all the time. He's a Seahawks fan, so
Drew Brees' offensive playbook included more than 4 verts. That was the whole Seattle passing game. Is there 4 verts and then we're running? So
yeah.
All right. Yeah, I want to get Brandon's take on that too, because JJ McCarthy's very polarizing. I don't like him. Matt likes him more than me. You guys kind of are lining up with us, but I have Denver at 12. And speaking of funny ways that this mock turned out, I have to do the pick for like multiple teams that I hate. I have like Denver, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and Kansas City coming up for me. So that was the price I paid for wanting to do the Patriots. Denver needs a lot of things, especially a quarterback, but it's too early for me to go Bo Nix or Penix here. So I'm going best player available. I think with Malik Neighbors' upside that he's fallen too far to this point. And I know like a lot of mocks that I've done, I have Neighbors gone by now. So I go with like Latu here. I like him or someone like another corner here, but this is too far for Malik Neighbors to fall with his upside. So I'm adding him to the Broncos roster since they just got rid of Jerry Jeudy.
I hate Jerry Jeudy also. He sucks. That guy is like biggest joke in the league.
Jerry Jeudy talking shit to Steve Smith Jr. Steve Smith Sr. was just the best part of last season. Because I was like, you've accomplished absolutely nothing and you're going up against an absolute fucking dog.
Yeah.
Don't talk shit to Steve Smith.
All the Jerry Jeudy truthers, I still don't understand them. Like, what the fuck has that guy done?
I have a lot of Patriot fans in my life who are Mac Jones truthers. You just got to let irrational people be irrational. Matt, the Las Vegas Raiders, speaking of irrational people.
So, I mean, we're sitting here at 13 and I'm a little, especially after you picking for the Falcons, the number one guy on my board still. I'm very surprised he's still here. I'm going with Jared Verse. He is, to me, clearly the best pass rusher in this draft. God, like if they're gonna do anything, they need that defense to be able to do something. You know, we could have gone offensive line here to build something around Aiden O'Connell or whoever's gonna be, you know, the trigger man for them this year, potentially Gardner Minshew. But I just think that their best bet is making sure that other teams don't score so that those two guys can just kind of game manage when they need to and then occasionally take their shots. Jared, like we talked about it last week, Adam, the way that Jared Verse would just like take over games, especially like early on in this season. Pairing that with Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins, it's going to make a lot of guys' jobs a lot easier.
Yeah, I was going to say, put him with Max XXX Crosby. The things we know about Max Crosby that we're not allowed to say on this show could fill a fucking episode.
Legitimately have an insider.
Yeah, we talked about this before with the signing of Christian Wilkins for $110 million. Is I just like the Raiders are like, you know what? We're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes by out offensing him. We will beat Patrick Mahomes, or we'll try to, by beating the absolute shit out of him every single time he plays us. And it's like, Wilkins is dirty. I had him in my division for years. He's just a dirty player, but he's very physical and gets to the quarterback. Max XXX Crosby, gonna get there, and then adding Jared Verse, and like if Tyree Wilson ever develops anything, we're getting real nasty real quick. So, but Brandon, you are on the clock with the New Orleans Saints.
Yep. So lots of offensive tackles have gone already. We're sliding down the board a little bit more, and we're gonna go with J.C. Latham out of Alabama. everything is pointing towards the Saints taking an offensive tackle. You just lost Andres Pete and Ryan Ramczyk could be retiring soon since his knee cartilage keeps messing him up there. So it makes sense for the Saints to rebuild up their offensive line, considering they still have solid enough weapons. You do got Derek Carr steering the ship still, so that's a little concerning. But I think if you can protect them, hopefully you'll do better this year.
The Saints are the funniest team in the league to me because every offseason they're like, the Saints are $72 million over the cap. And they just keep kicking the can down the road. I don't know where it ends with the Saints. And I don't understand how they can add a first round pick to their roster with their cap situation.
Miracle workers.
Jack, you are up with the Colts.
This one is pretty straightforward. You just look at the depth chart for the Colts and you look at corner and you see Grant Stewart and Juju Brents. I've never even heard of those guys in my life. So they need a corner bad. They have the best slot corner in Kenny Moore, but they need an outside guy. And I think you go with the second best guy in Tyrion Arnold here. He slots in day one. Good physical corner on the outside, can play man, can play zone. The guy that you don't have to worry about day one. Just plug and play.
Juju Brent slander on this podcast will not be stood for.
I literally have never heard of that guy in my life.
I have no idea who it was either. I had to remember the name that you said. I was like, I'm going to fuck this up. All right, I'm up with the Seattle Seahawks. I think the board has fallen nicely for me because we need an edge rusher here in Seattle. Matt and I have been baffled by how bad the pass defense was last year, although they have Tariq Woolen, who's a former my guy, and Devin Witherspoon, who's a former one of Matt's my guys, who have both been awesome. I'm going with Latu. I'm very torn between him and Dallas Turner here, but I just feel like Latu is such a Seattle, like he played at UCLA. He's like a Northwestern guy, kind of, he's just got to go up a little ways from LA. I think he's Hawaiian, isn't he? So that seems like it just feels very Seattle to me to go with him. But either way, I like edge. I like trying to get some pressure on the quarterback to help out those DBs with what's his name? Jamal Adams trying to cover the back half of the defense for some reason, like a jackass.
Is he still on the team or did he get released? I can't remember.
I thought he got released.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's there anymore, but Matt and I have been talking about Jamal Adams and his misusage playing away from the line of scrimmage for quite some time now. But
just let him go hit people. That's really the thing that he's good for.
He should have just been. I don't know why they didn't just make him a linebacker, kind of like Deion Buchanan was for like the Cardinals. A guy like that.
Yeah, he's like that modern like nickel linebacker. That's like not really like your old school linebacker. They're not going to hold up against offensive linemen. But I mean, if they're running out like 3 wide receiver sets, like you don't really have to worry about that too much.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Barron died for this. Matt, you are up with the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Jags I feel like a weird team in this draft.
They're a hard one for me. I might go with Byron Thomas here. Look, you need to make Trevor Lawrence work. It's got to work. Otherwise, you're so fucked. Like, so go get him a weapon. See if that helps. And I mean, if not, you're gonna have to scrap it.
I really like Brian Thomas Jr. I feel bad for Christian Kirk because he like signs this huge deal, has an awesome year, and then it's like they just keep bringing in other guys to be the number one receiver. They're like, we're gonna get Ridley. Oh, Ridley's gone. We're gonna draft a guy. Like Christian Kirk, you're fine, but you're just not the number one here.
Yeah, I love Christian Kirk.
He's an elite number 2, but if he's your number 1, boy, you better have a stable.
I don't know if there was a contract that we as football media people have been collectively more wrong about than the Christian Kirk contract, because when he signed that thing,
100%,
dude, he was getting absolutely torched, him and the Jags, for signing that deal, and he has been worth it. And the deal does not look as bad now after some of the other deals we've seen. Well, all right, Brandon, you are on the board at 18 with the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm so happy I had this pick because outside of DeJean and Torrey Taylor, this is probably my favorite prospect in the draft. Jack might know where I'm
Yeah,
going here. We're
yeah.
going with Jersey and Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle out of Illinois. You did just lose DJ Reader to the meanies in Honolulu Blue, but you can re-up your defensive line with a guy who can just do it all, get pressure from the inside. You pair that with Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson and a little bit of BJ Hill. You could also, I could see him going an offensive tackle here. The board lines up for them, but they did just sign Trent Brown, and you need a bounce back from Orlando Brown Jr. So I think they're going to give that another year. So I think Johnny Newton here makes most sense.
It's a good pick. My only problem with the analysis is that you mentioned DJ Reader, and now we're going to lose Matt in a state of like orgasmic thought over there for the rest of this podcast.
Just be glad I'm not standing up.
Matt has loved DJ Reader for years and has always wanted him in Detroit. And then as soon as the rumor happened, we were on the podcast and Matt's just like, DJ Reader, he's coming to Detroit.
It's happening.
He was so happy.
I'll have to call a doctor in 4 hours.
And then again in another 4. So, all right. Moving off DJ Reader and Matt's problems over there. Jack, you're on the board with the Rams.
Problem.
Yeah, so Brandon kind of like I'm also a big Jerzan Johnny Newton guy. He's awesome. That guy rocks. He's like undersized a little bit, literally like Aaron Donald. But you need a guy to replace Aaron Donald now. So you go with the next best guy, defensive interior. You go Byron Murphy here. Just a physical freak. I know he's listed as like a D tackle, but he also like Aaron Donald was listed as a D tackle, but he had that versatility to rush on the edge and on the inside. And I think that's what Byron Murphy has the capability to do. And you just got to find a guy to replace Aaron Donald. And that's almost impossible, but maybe Byron Murphy is that guy. But they definitely need they could have gone corner here, but they also brought in a couple guys. They brought Darius Williams back. They brought in what's Trey White. Who knows what he has, but you could maybe get one of those in the later rounds, but you definitely need a solid force inside along Kobe Turner.
Yeah, so I'm up with the Steelers, and it's so funny because of so many ways the Steelers could go, but I'm going to do the thing that the Steelers should have done for years and have absolutely refused to do and get an offensive lineman. And I was thinking about doing it just to piss Matt off and taking Jackson Powers Johnson, the center / guard here, because that's one of Matt's favorite guys. But we're going to go with Troy Fautanu, the tackle out of Washington. No matter who plays quarterback there this season, I feel like Pittsburgh is just a 9-8 team just because that's who Pittsburgh is. And you should never pick them to win less than 9 games as long as Mike Tomlin is there coaching. But they have to protect people at some time. The offensive line has been such a problem for them for years. So that's where we're going. But Matt, you're back with the Miami Dolphins.
This is another one that I'm like really kind of struggling to hammer down exactly where I want to go here. We lost Christian Wilkins, and we can't necessarily replace that. However, our edge situation is not looking particularly great. I like Jalen Phillips, but I don't want him to be a one-man show. So I'm going to go with one of the few other guys that I like on the edge in this class with Leitu Latu.
I already took him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, the Seattle took him at 16.
Sorry. Fuck you.
If Matt was a GM, he would just turn in cards for guys who were already taken. He's like, I take Caleb Williams. They're like, you can't do it. He's like, no, but that's who I picked.
I'm going to go with JPJ. Yeah, so if you listened to our pod last week, you would know that I firmly believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, Jackson Powers Johnson will be firmly seen as the best offensive lineman taken in this class. I just think he's that good as long as he's healthy. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's athletic. Like, he's just fucking nasty. He's everything that you want out of an offensive lineman. And the fact that he played 1 year at center and immediately was doing all of the calls for the offensive line, like, just tells me how smart he is. Dude's gonna crush it.
He would fit really nicely in that kind of speedy, athletic offense too, because
Yeah.
he can move for a guard slash center. So, but Brandon, you are up with the Philadelphia Eagles at 22.
Yeah,
a team
so this
that none of us like.
so this is the one I texted you beforehand, if I could mess with their pick. But I'm gonna be honest here. We're gonna help them out enough. I am going with Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. Eagles secondary got exposed last year with their aging corners. I chose Kool-Aid over Cooper, not because I think he's better, but I'd be on unaliving watch if Cooper went to the Eagles, I think. So
Yeah.
I would like, this is a honest take. I don't know if Jack agrees with this. I would rather see like my guys on the Packers than the Eagles.
Ugh, fuck
100%.
that. I can't agree with that.
I'd
That's
rather
just-
see my guys on the Packers than the Eagles. I actually like. I kind of like the Packers. I know that's a very dangerous thing to say with the three people I'm doing this podcast with right now. I have a lot of Jordan Love stock.
It's
a lot of
amazing
Jordan Love
that
stock.
this is our last podcast.
Solo after. I'm gonna have to go to the draft in Detroit by myself on Thursday and then do the podcast solo after. No, I like Jordan Love a lot coming out of the draft, and the Packers took him, and I was just like, I think he's going to be good one day. And Matt's been making fun of me for it for years. And he was pretty good this year, so I cashed in all my stock.
He was pretty good for like
this is the all-time high.
6 to 7 games.
Hey, they beat Dallas in the playoffs. When was the last time Detroit beat Dallas in the playoffs?
I would have to really go back. Actually, I don't think Dallas was even in the league, which is like the crazy thing to me about them being like the good old days thing is like y'all haven't even been around that long.
Yeah, maybe this will be the year. But Jack is back with another hometown pick, the Vikings second pick at 23.
Yeah, so as much as I would probably rather take Nate Wiggins here, the Vikings have been looking for a guy to replace Marcus Sherrills for years now. They just really have not filled that void in a long time. And maybe this guy can also play corner, like Marcus Sherrills really did horribly. But I'm gonna make Brandon really happy here, and I'm gonna take Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, you are.
No, the Vikings. I'm not a Cooper DeJean hater. I think that he more likely is a safety. But the Vikings need a corner really badly. But I think he can also
the propaganda. He is a cornerback.
No, I think he can play, but I just think that he also with his his ability, just like I think he's like probably one of the most smart and athletic players in this draft especially at the corner position. Yeah, I don't know, but I thought it was funny to lead it up that way, that we need to replace Marcus Sherrills.
Cooper DeJean is for all the Jason Sehorn fans out there.
Yeah, he also definitely returned a punt against the Lions. I know that for a fact. So yeah, but yeah, Cooper DeJean would be fun. I kind of would like that.
Making history, Jack. I love it.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week, and this is a common misconception: is that a lot of people believe that what's his name again? The white corner that you just mentioned,
Jason Sehorn.
Yeah. So a lot of people think that he's the last white corner to have started an NFL game. He is not. There was another guy whose name I can't pronounce who played for the Washington name redacted in
Chris Conti.
No, this is like a true corner. I forget his name. But Cooper DeJean will be the first white guy to play corner in the NFL since 2004 to start a game at corner.
That would rock.
Yeah.
He's gonna do it. He will do it.
Oh yeah, no, he'll start at one of the corners for sure.
That's the thing is as long as he stays healthy, he's gonna last in the league because he can play outside corner, he can play safety, and honestly, I think he's better fit playing nickel than either of those spots.
Yeah,
And
probably.
like teams are almost always playing nickel. So like he's gonna get on the field as long as he's healthy.
All right, Dallas Cowboys at 24. I don't know how I ended up with all these teams. The Cowboys are another team
Better
that,
you than me.
yeah, this is one where Matt truly would not have been able to hold back on like not messing with their pick. So,
Absolutely.
they're kind of a team that like doesn't need a lot, but then also does need everything. Like I'm looking at their needs here on PFF, and they got running back, wide receiver, center, tackle, defensive line. Like you would think that they would not be picking 24 with all these needs, but I think it would be super Dallas to go with AD Mitchell here. Another like offensive piece from Texas. And I think that's what they might do. But I am going to strengthen the offensive line and go with Amarius Mims, the tackle from Georgia. They have a huge investment in Dak, and we can debate for hours if that's the right move or not.
Mhm.
But if you're going to have that much invested in a quarterback and probably give him another contract soon, you got to protect him.
Yeah.
Matt, you didn't get to make the Dallas pick. You do get to make Green Bay's pick at 25
God, this is fucking hell.
and get help for superstar quarterback Jordan Love.
Yes, that's stupid. The fact that he's gonna be a superstar is ridiculous.
It's the number one thing that I've gotten wrong in my life that somehow turned into being right this season. And it's been an amazing roller coaster ride because I picked the Packers to make the playoffs, and I got made fun of all year until they actually did it and then beat Dallas.
It's a little early for my taste, but I think Mike Sanders still is my guy. He's a plug and play nickel, like right off the bat. That's a starter in a modern defense.
Yeah, even
Um,
PFF had to think about that pick because the little loading sign was going for a minute there. Matt's on the all. I have to type in the player's name to find him on the chart team this year. Multiple picks where I had to scroll through.
Yeah. Guys that I was hoping were gonna be there a little bit later aren't there. So, also like how many of these like 15 to 32 picks actually hit? And a lot of these guys that are projected to go there, I just don't like. So pick
No,
the guys I like.
I'll give you credit because you picked one of my guys for the
Yeah.
Packers. So it shows a lot of growth out of you. Brandon, you're up with the pick that you specifically asked for with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 26. Another
Yeah.
team that's got a lot of needs.
So this was going to be the spot for Cooper DeJean if he didn't get picked by Jack. So that's fine. He went to a better place anyways. But I am going to go with Chop Robinson out of Penn State. That's an all draft name right there too. Chop Robinson. That's a guy that knows how to play football. The Buccaneers defensive line isn't that great. Like obviously you still got Vita Vea, like just plugging holes in the middle. And that's Kalijah Cansey, and then it's just kind of bunch of like role players on the outside. So why not try and get like a verified dude to set the edge for you?
Yeah, Chop Robinson is the all-name team along with one of my guys, Ennis Rakestraw out of Missouri. Those are just good names. Appreciate that. But we got somehow Jack got to do both Cardinals picks. You got the Cardinals again. They drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4.
Yeah. Now, this is very interesting because they do need a corner. They have Sean Murphy Bunting and a guy I've never heard of. So that's where they're at. I as fun as it would be to just go AD Mitchell and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the outside going at it together. I feel like probably just best corner available here. I feel like you just go to Nate Wiggins. Just an absolute track star. Can play both man and zone. He really improved last year in the coverage, but I mean, you saw it at the combine, 4.28 speed, just an absolute burner. He's going to be able to keep up with your best receiver, and I mean, practice is going to be fun with those Nate Wiggins and Marvin Harrison Jr. going at it.
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting time for Arizona fans, especially like rookie camp. You bring these two guys in to go up against each other.
Yeah.
All right, I got Buffalo, another team that I'm not a huge fan of, but I am going to address the thing that Buffalo has absolutely refused to address for years. We're going to go in the trenches with Graham Barton. I know with Gabe Davis and with Stephon Diggs both leaving town this year that people are going to want a wide receiver. I think if they draft someone like A.D. Mitchell or Troy Franklin here, that we just go back to being the exact same Buffalo Bills that we've seen for the last 4 years with Josh Allen, where they win games in the regular season, but can't get it done against the better teams in the playoffs. And the way that they turn that around is by not getting dominated at the line of scrimmage every single time they play the Chiefs or the Bengals. So we're going to go with the tackle. As much as it pains me, I would love to just pick A.D. Mitchell and be like, oh, yeah, it's a flashy pick to replace Stephon Diggs, but you're right back to being the same old Buffalo Bills. So Matt has the final homer pick. Super late here for them, but it's the Detroit Lions at 29.
I mean, my go-to picks are already off the board. I think probably Tyler Newman.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
I love this pick.
Yeah,
That rocks.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of depth at safety right now, so if someone goes down, really clear path for him to get on the field. And just if you watch football long enough, you know you can never have enough DBs, especially corners. But like, if you're thin at safety, you should probably get a safety.
Tyler Newman, one of my guys from last week. I just think of all of the different things that you could do with him and Brian Branch on the same defense, playing 2 of your 3 safety roles, and it gets nasty pretty quick. But
yeah,
Brandon, you got your last pick here at 30 with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, so I've been seeing quite a bit of, maybe it's just the drafts I'm looking at, but that they want the Ravens to take an offensive tackle. And I'm not quite sure why, because I still got Ronnie Stanley and Daniel Falele from Minnesota. But I am.
That's why they have a Minnesota guy playing tackle.
Well, the Minnesota offensive line was good a few years ago, but
Nice.
we're just going to go. This is going to be more of a fun pick for me because I like this guy and he made a show at the combine. We're going to go with Xavier Worthy. He tested like 3rd overall in total combine score for wide receivers with an 88. He set the new 40-yard dash record. Like, what's not to love about this guy? Like, him and Zay Flowers just running streaks on the field. Like, that's entertaining to watch. Unfortunately, like, that's not their offense did get better passing the ball this year, but they're still built around the run. So I would be interested to see how that all work out for them.
Yeah, that's a lot of speed on the field all at the same time, backed up by Derrick Henry being an absolute fucking battering ram.
Yep, exactly.
Running back for them this season. So that gets scary quickly. The one thing I'd worry about for them is who their possession guy is going to be, but maybe that doesn't matter when you have Mark Andrews, assuming that he's back from his injury. So, and then Jack's last pick here is number 31, the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, so apparently they need guard and tackle, which I don't understand. They're known to have the best offensive linemen. They need a corner, but there's really not a corner here. I guess you could take the fun name. I can't remember his name, from Missouri, I think is where he's from.
My boy, Rick Straw.
Yeah, that guy. They could be trading Brandon Ayuk in the draft. You go A.D. Mitchell here, but I think Nick Bosa really struggled this year. He didn't really have, until Chase Young came in, really struggled without a counterpart there to rush the passer with him. And I think you see a meteoric fall here with the guy out of Alabama. I think you take Dallas Turner here, pair him alongside Nick Bosa, and hopefully have a dynamic pass rush that we saw in 2022, but maybe not as much as normal in 2023.
I like it. I like those high level prospects going into a situation where they can really coach him up, on a strong defense. A lot of really good guys there to learn from. I got the last pick in the first round, the defending champion, the 2-time defending champions, going for a 3rd this season. with the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like the pick has to be wide receiver after what we saw last year. And they've added Hollywood Brown in the offseason. But with what just happened with Rashee Rice, we have no idea if he's going to be gone permanently or temporarily or what the deal is going to be. So I am going to go wide receiver, but I'm going to go a little bit off of PFF's board here. They have A.D. Mitchell, Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey as the top guys on the board. But I'm going with one of my favorite guys in the draft, and Ricky Pearsall.
I know who this is.
Yeah. Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver out of Florida, is just like a slot god who's going to come in and be like an excellent slot receiver right away. And I think could be a really nice piece for Patrick Mahomes, considering they got a burner in Hollywood. Kelsey is still Kelsey, at least in small spurts, but is not going to play forever. And we saw this kind of with Tom Brady and the Patriots when Gronk started going downhill. He leaned heavier and heavier on Julian Edelman. And it's like a nice little slot weapon there for Patrick Mahomes for not only next season, but beyond. So that's my guy. I know Ricky Pearsall, people are going to be like, oh, it's too early for him. But if you listen to the My Guys episode last week, you know that that's me doing my best for them.
Yeah, I mean, what are the Chiefs without a token white guy at receiver?
I mean,
nothing.
Yeah.
They need it. They have to have it. I mean, they have Justin Watson, but why not get a better version?
A better token white guy. That's important.
Exactly.
But that is it for us. Good first round mock. As always, Fouled Out can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, anywhere you get your podcast. Anywhere that you listen to Fouled Out, you can also check out Certified Beef. And I highly recommend you do. It's very fun. Matt and I have been on there before. We, thank God, just barely avoided having to eat these spicy wings. I think Matt just barely beat out your buddy there in the March Madness tournament. So what's your friend's name again?
Andrew.
Poor Andrew has to eat the spicy wings 2 years in a row. So
yeah,
that's a fun podcast. If you guys haven't listened to that, they have guests on, including Matt last year, to pick the records for all 32 NFL teams. And whoever loses from the year before has to eat blazing buffalo wings from Buffalo Wild Wings. And we almost had to do it. Matt narrowly avoided it. So go check that out. Go check out the past episodes of Fouled Out. We just posted the My Guys episode last week for the draft on Thursday. You can catch up on that, as well as the big storylines and how Matt and I ranked all of our quarterbacks the week before. You can hit us up on Gmail, fouledOutsports@gmail.com. Appreciate you guys listening, and we would love to hear from you. And you can find our videos on TikTok at Fouled Out Sports Podcast. It's a long name, but you can't miss it. Brandon specifically requested to be part of the TikTok.
I did
this week. So we will have those coming soon. We'll tag you guys in those as well. So Brandon, Jack, Certified Beef, thank you guys for being here and doing this with us. This is
thank you
a fun
very much.
podcast every year. And good luck in the draft this weekend. Hopefully you don't trade up to 3. Or else I'm going to be having a bad time, but we'll be in touch.
Oh, we'll have a great time.
Yeah, well, yeah, we would. I mean, I think it's very unrealistic that we do that. So I think you're good. Maybe I'll put in a word, as my word is very prevalent in the Vikings front office.
Yeah, didn't you hear that? Robert Kraft got some flowers from Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
No, this is the problem: is that all of the people that would listen to me in the Patriots front office are gone.
Yeah.
So it's not happening for me. But yeah, thanks for being here. We will see you guys soon. And then for the rest of you, enjoy playoff hockey, playoff basketball, the draft Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we'll see you guys next week. Matt and I are going to be back either this weekend or into next week to break down the first couple rounds of the NFL draft and give you our reactions to that. So, Matt, I will see you later, buddy.
Yep. And remember, fuck Kyle Shanahan.
Always. All right.
Always. Forever.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Mom. Bye, Robin.